Let's begin. Good afternoon. It's already 1:32. More participants will hopefully join. Yeah. So good afternoon, everyone, and good afternoon, Professor Sharif, our resource person for the fourth day of our FTP on research methodology. Professor Sharif will speak on qualitative data analysis, another very, very important topic in research methodology, and something that is very challenging for all the researchers. So we are very grateful once again to Professor Sharif for accepting our invitation and addressing us on this very, very important topic. So I won't take much time. So, sir, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Manisha. So, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
Our topic for this afternoon is qualitative data analysis. Now, qualitative data analysis is basically used by people by people in social sciences, psychology, medical sciences, and also to some extent by persons working in the field of engineering and technology. But mostly it is used by researchers working in the field of social sciences and psychology, medical sciences. So in this presentation, we will be covering the following topics. Types of variables first. We will have a brief introduction on the type of variables. Then I will try to highlight some differences between quantitative and qualitative research. After that, we will move on to qualitative data collection techniques. And then we'll see why do we want to do qualitative analysis. There are certain very practical applications of qualitative data analysis. So we'll look at a few applications of qualitative data analysis in the real world. And then how this analysis is carried out. What are different methods of carrying out qualitative data analysis? We will discuss those methods. I'll also highlight some limitations of qualitative data analysis at the end of my presentation. I'll give you some names of some software for qualitative data analysis. Actually, NVivo is a proprietary software, so one has to have a license in order to use NVivo. But there are some open source software also. So I'll just mention some of the software, and then there are some books that I would recommend for qualitative data analysis. So this is the flow of my presentation this afternoon. Now the variables can be either qualitative or quantitative. Qualitative variables have non-numeric outcomes without any natural ordering. For example, gender is a qualitative variable. Gender could be male or female. Disease status, critical, terminal disease. So this is also a qualitative variable. Type of car, passenger vehicle, sport utility vehicles, commercial vehicles. So these are all qualitative variables. On the other hand, quantitative variables have numeric outcomes. So there is a number associated with these variables. For example, survival time of patients, height of a person, age of a person, number of children, number of faults in a circuit board. All these are quantitative variables. So one thing is very clear that quantitative variables have a number associated with them. Qualitative variables do not have numbers associated with these variables. Okay. Now, discrete random variables and continuous variable are also again types of variables that we must have some idea of before we could proceed further. So discrete random variables have outcomes which can take only a countable number of possible values. Discrete. So you divide the values in some interval. And for these variables, the value is obtained by counting. This is an easier way to remembering discrete variables. Variables whose values are obtained by counting. For example, number of students present in a class, number of red marbles in a jar, number of heads when we flip coins, 3 coins or 2 coins. And continuous variables are those variables which have a continuous values over a given scale. So if you have a scale of say between 1 meter to say 2 meters, and then in that range there is a fine discretization. So more or less we can say that the scale is a continuous scale on a real number. Examples are height of students in class, time it takes to get to school, minutes. So obviously the discretization will depend upon the type of clock you are using, the precision of the clock basically. Distance traveled between classes when moving from one period to another period. So all these are continuous random variables. So they are variables whose values are obtained by measuring. Now based on these types of variables, there are probability distributions also. So we could have discrete probability distributions, continuous probability distributions. For example, continuous, like for example, normal distribution is a continuous probability distribution, whereas a Poisson distribution is a discrete distribution. Now let us see what do we actually mean by quantitative research. First we'll have a brief slide on quantitative and then we'll move on to qualitative. So in quantitative research, we collect and analyze numerical data to answer certain questions and to test our hypothesis. So in quantitative research, the hypothesis is known in advance and then we try to test the hypothesis. It uses mathematical and statistical methods to derive objective information. So there is a lot of mathematics and statistics involved in quantitative research. Although in qualitative also some sort of data analysis, statistical data analysis is involved, but not to that extent. Now, example of a quantitative research could be assessing water availability under climate change scenarios. So here we will try to quantify the amount of water that is available at a particular site under different climate change scenarios. Identifying trends in pollution levels. So we'll identify what is the trend. Is it a positive trend or a negative trend? And what is the magnitude of the trend? Okay. So we'll try to find out the slope of the trend. So in quantitative research, we basically deal with a situation where we have a hypothesis and then we try to test that hypothesis. For example, if you are given a particular data set, now your hypothesis could be, null hypothesis could be that the distribution of this data is normal. Okay, this could be your hypothesis. Now, after doing an analysis, you will come to the conclusion whether this hypothesis can be rejected or it can be accepted. So, on the other hand, in the qualitative type of research, we do not have any hypothesis at hand. Instead, we try to formulate a hypothesis or we try to develop a hypothesis after conducting our analysis. So that is one fundamental difference between the quantitative and the qualitative research. So you can see here, qualitative research focuses on understanding human experiences, not quantifying, understanding human behaviors, human experiences, social phenomena. So in quantitative research, we are looking for a detailed and descriptive insight which is beyond numbers. So numbers do not play a vital role here. Here the understanding of the phenomena, descriptive insights related to a phenomena are important. So an example of quantitative research could be a study on how employees experience workplace stress through interviews instead of numerical survey. So we could take some employees, interview them and find out how do they feel about workplace stress. So, and after that, their interviews are analyzed. Okay, so there are no numerical values. The text is there. So in qualitative research, it is mostly the text or the audios or videos, images. These are the items that are analyzed in a qualitative research. So I hope the difference is clear. In quantitative research, basically we are dealing with we have an hypothesis at hand, and we try to do some statistical analysis to either accept or reject that hypothesis. Whereas in qualitative research, we work with the understanding of experiences, behaviors, social phenomena, and we try to develop some hypothesis, or in some cases we also try to develop some theory. So that comes under the data analysis technique, which is called grounded theory. Now this table gives you some better idea about the differences between qualitative and quantitative research. Feature tone. So in qualitative research, it is non-numerical, only words, description. Quantitative research, numerical. You deal with numbers, with statistics. Obviously, the approach, because it's all text and audio and images and transcripts, so the approach is subjective or exploratory. There is some user intention or intuition and judgment rather. User intuition and judgment is there in the analysis, in the approach. Whereas in quantitative research, the user has no influence over the results. It is the statistics, the data itself tells you. Data itself gives you the results. So it's much more objective and conclusive. Collection of data in qualitative research is carried out through interviews, through focus groups, observations. So this is how the data is collected. We'll look at one by one at all these in subsequent slides. Whereas in quantitative research, surveys, experiments, statistical data, historical data based on observations is used to conduct quantitative research. Analysis is either thematic analysis or content analysis. And in quantitative research, we deal with statistical analysis, hypothesis testing. So I hope you have already had a session on quantitative research. So you have some idea about hypothesis and different methods like how to test whether the data follows a particular distribution, how to test the goodness of fit using, for example, chi-square method. Okay, so all those things are, I think, already known to you. So I was looking at this syllabus. So quantitative research has already been dealt with by my fellow colleague. So now, why do we want to study qualitative data analysis? Obviously, it has very practical applications and financial implications. See, there is application in business and marketing, consumer behavior and brand perception. This is a broad field of business and marketing, where what the researcher does is he or she tries to understand customer preferences before launching new products. Now here I want to tell one thing. Nowadays, the use of word he or she, his or her, is getting eliminated in certain societies. They are using they and them because people do not want to be associated with a particular gender, especially in America. When they say they rather people would use words like they instead of he or she, and so that change is also there. But when President Trump came into power, he has said that there are only two genders from now on.